Mr. Nehemiah, if we obviously start off since this is a start of the series of discussions that the Road Fund Administration wishes to share with our listeners and the broader public, could you help us with the role of the RFA in Namibia?
Thanks, Dwight. The Road Fund Administration, it's a public enterprise incorporated in Namibia. It was established by an act which we call the Road Fund Administration Act 18 of 1999. Basically, the road fund was set up to manage the road user charging system and raise revenue through this system in order to secure and allocate sufficient funding for road expenditure, road development, as well as road construction, in a nutshell. And it was based on the premise that it will recover the full costs from the road users as per the definition of the RFA Act.
100%. And then if we also look at the next question, in terms of the footprint, how is the RFA's footprint in the country?
Thanks, Dwight. Before I indicate the RFA's footprint, basically what the road user charging system entails, we are required to determine the amount of funding and the manner of funding for projects and programs. On top of that, we are required to determine the road user charges that are to be levied so as to impose these charges on the road users to ensure future sustainability of the Namibian road network. In terms of our footprint, basically when I do come to the road user charges that we collect, you will appreciate how we are set up countrywide. We have our main head office located here in Windhoek, formerly Veld Street, now Seretse Street, not too far from Marua Mall in the Auspanplatz area. Most of our road user charges, specifically the cross-border charges as well as the mass distance charges, are collected through our offices located at our entry points, which are our borders, as well as inland offices. Specifically one being in Windhoek itself, as well as others strategically located in the country.
100% there, Mr. Nehemiah. And then as we look at the next particular talking point, which you mentioned, the road user charging system, but before since you've already highlighted that part, there's also the aspect in terms of why road funding is important. Can you share some of the details there with us?
Thanks again, Dwight. We obviously understand that in terms of the broader economic development of our country, and then we certainly know that through our national development plans over the years, starting with NDP 1 in 1990, up until recently NDP 5, and last year, which was launched by Her Excellency, the President, Her Excellency Madam Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, NDP 6. Now, in terms of the broader vision, Namibia aspiring to be an industrialized nation by the year 2030. That's part of our Blueprint Vision 2030, which will be carried on by NDP 6 now. For us to achieve that ambition of being a logistics hub in Southern Africa, serving markets beyond Namibia, through what we call our key corridor routes. We have the Trans-Zambezi running from Walvis Bay through Zambia to the DRC and also serving the latter part of Malawi. We have the Trans-Kunene. Trans-Kunene is what we probably also call our north-south corridor through Angola into Chicago. Also part of it serving southern Angola through the Menongwe, and then we have our famous Trans-Kalahari Highway. This is running from Walvis Bay through the border post at Beitepost, Mamuno, further through Gauteng to link up with the port at Maputo in Mozambique. So from a strategic point of view, that is the importance of why road funding is important. And we know that roads are a key catalyst towards national development. And then just for interest's sake, you will appreciate, including the listeners, that over 90% of our passenger movements is carried by road, and about 80% of our freight, that's the movement of goods into and out of the country, is carried by road. So roads are a significant infrastructure asset to our country. And then definitely without roads, including other African states, we cannot trade amongst ourselves. We cannot integrate as per the vision set out by the Founding Fathers and encapsulated in the African Agenda 2063.
100%. And then, Mr. Nehemiah, you did mention the road user charging system a little bit earlier, but in terms of just how does it actually work? How does this road user charging system work in terms of it that the RFA obviously will be making use of?
Thanks again, Dwight. Well, the road user charging system, in brief, it's a system comprising of a number of road user charges through which instruments the Road Fund Administration collects revenue for the maintenance and rehabilitation of the national road network. Now, the system comprises of a number of key charges, which I will allude to in a short while. But basically, the system, it's meant to determine the rates of these charges as well as the amounts and the manner in which these collections shall be made, so that we impose on them, or we request the collection thereof from the road users to meet the funding requirements of our national road network. Now, this system or these instruments comprises of our key revenue source, which we derive from the fuel levy, which accounts to about 60% of our total revenue, including now what we call your annual vehicle license registration fees. Basically, when you go to a NATIS center to renew your annual vehicle license disc on your vehicle. And then we have another charge which is particularly imposed on foreign vehicles entering the country, what we call the cross-border charges at our border post. And then the mass distance charge, this is levied on vehicles with a mass exceeding 3,500 kilometers, both foreign registered as well as locally registered vehicles, and to a lesser extent, abnormal load fees and road carrier permits. Your typical example I can give is your intercape buses, which do the long haul in the country as well as out of the country.
Yep. And then
also these charges then constitute what we call the road user charging system.
Yeah, because there's obviously this umbrella charge categories that would be applied across the country.
Correct, right.
Yeah. So, Mr. Nehemiah, if we also look at the RFA's role in Namibia's economic growth and safety, what can the listener see from this particular role that RFA plays in these two particular examples?
Thanks again, Dwight. I did indicate the significance of a sustainable, well-developed, and well-maintained national road network. On top of that, also a well-developed urban road network. These are the roads that are managed by our local authorities, that is the municipalities, as well as town council, feeding onto the national road network. Now, from a broader perspective, the role of RFA, as per its founding legislation, is to secure and allocate sufficient funding towards the roads subsector. Now, having said that, obviously our mandate is one of importance to our economy, alluding to the fact that without roads, we as a nation cannot grow, we cannot develop, and we cannot trade with our regional as well as international partners. Being a very, very responsible corporate citizen, the RFA takes its mandate very, very seriously. And if you historically just look at our country, Namibia, with its a vast, sparsely distributed population. In fact, we have one of the highest GDP per capita in terms of road service to the nation. So road linkages plays a very, very critical and important role in our country. In fact, it speaks to one of the key pillars under NDP 6, which is to maximize the provision of road transport infrastructure along with other modes of transport.
And that obviously also helps us get into the next particular question, which also will lead us into our conclusion, Mr. Nehemiah, in terms of what should the public expect specifically in terms of all this discussion that we've had so far?
Thanks again, Dwight. Now, obviously, the mandate of the RFA is very strategic to our country. We have seen in instances where if we don't provide adequate or sustainable funding towards our national road network, we risk the collapse of this network. Specifically where we know that Namibia over the past few years, I would say 7 to 8 years or so, has been lauded on the continent as having one of the best quality maintained road network, even surpassing bigger economies like South Africa, Morocco on the continent. And globally, we are ranked in the order of 22nd, 23rd globally, competing with advanced economies such as Singapore, Hong Kong, and some European countries. Now, it is very important for the public to understand that for the future sustenance of our road infrastructure, an asset which is valued at over 220 billion Namibian dollars, we need to provide adequate funding for its maintenance and rehabilitation. So it is for the public to understand that when the RFA specifically requests through its portfolio minister, and hopefully with the support of our portfolio minister being the Minister of Finance, and the support from our Minister of Industrialization, Mines and Energy, for us to understand and be appreciative of the fact that the provision of road infrastructure comes at a cost. And this cost can only be recovered from the road users. So as a road user and a Namibian citizen, we need to appreciate that when we are required to pay our road user charges, I'm speaking now of your annual vehicle license registration fees, the fuel levy that we normally request for adjustment year on year, speaking to the needs of the network out there, of which we are already funding below optimal. We are able to only fund about 50 to 52% of our needs. Hence, our indulgence when we request for rough adjustments on an annual basis, but we do understand that in the long term, the fuel levy, which is our biggest revenue source, is being eroded and is not sustainable in the long term. So we plead of the public to understand, support the RFA in its effort to secure sufficient funding for our road network. Currently, in the past 2 years, I'm sure Dwight and you yourself and the listeners can see the effects of the rains and floods of 2025 and recently of 2026 as well. Yeah, and the numerous potholes on our national road network, as well as in the city of Windhoek. So without adequate funding, we're not able to fully suppress these interventions. So we call on the public for their support in whatever we do. And obviously, the public can be rest assured that the Namibian dollar invested in roads infrastructure has the added benefit of reducing vehicle operating costs, has the added benefit of reducing vehicle travel time costs, and any other savings that will accrue to the road user in the medium to long term. For instance, if you take the road between Okahanja and Karabelt, obviously the travel times savings and the improvement in road safety. Albeit that there is other road networks, road sections on the network which we still need to address. Specifically, we know the Usakos Arande Swakop is a key one. We know the road between Oshivelo towards via Omuthia to Oshakati. It needs some intervention, as well as the road between Grootfontein, Murani to Rundu, and some sections of road from Kongola to Katima. But given the needs out there and the funding that we're able to collect, we are slowly getting there to address some of these critical road maintenance and rehabilitation needs on our national road network, as well as within our urban centers, which are our municipalities and town councils.
100%. Mr. Nehemiah, before we end off on our discussion here, whereby the listeners can have also had an opportunity of understanding specifically the role that RFA plays, is there anything else that you still wanted to add before we end our talk? And in terms of just ending the discussion for this Friday, before we get to episode 2, which will be later on in June, in terms of which will be another session whereby the RFA will also share some more valuable information with us.
Thank you, Dwight, and certainly on behalf of the board of the RFA, its management, as well as staff, I am really grateful for this opportunity for the RFA in broader terms to explain its mandate to the listeners as well as the public and road users. Obviously, as we engage in future conversation, there are challenges that we are facing as an organization, but because of our integrated strategic business plan, basically our strat plan for the next 4 years, having commenced in 2024 up to 2029, we have put in place specific strategies to overcome some of our challenges. Key one being the insufficient funding. The other one obviously being the exploring of alternative revenue funding sources. We need to shift towards a more sustainable distance-based road user charge, alternative road construction material. So we have sort of indicated some of our strategic interventions linked to specific key performance areas, indicators that we need to overcome. So on that basis, we look forward to engaging the public further and provide them a better understanding and appreciation of the role and mandate of the RFA in support of a sustainable and future development of our road network. Obviously, they say no man is an island. We appreciate the roles of sector institutions, specifically the roads authority, the local authorities, as well as our other institutions that we engage with on a day-to-day basis. Also, the National Road Safety Council in promoting a safe and operational sector in as far as reducing road accident on our network is concerned. With that, I thank you very much and wish the listeners and the nation at large a pleasant Friday as well as a blessed weekend.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Nehemiah, in terms of just also engaging with us on this particular Friday with the extra knowledge regarding the role that RFA plays in the Namibian economy. Thank you once again for taking the time.
Thank you very much, Dwight. Thank you.